coming to you from the Edge Podcast Studios at South Mountain, Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome to the Edge Podcast with MikeG. Buckle up, Edge Nation. It's about to get real.
Because God knows you could really screw me over if we were playing poker right now.
And I won't play poker with you unless you're wearing your glasses. You should know that.
Good to know. Good. Dee, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
So very excited. I don't want to do introduction of you. This is what I typically do. I'll do an introduction, but I think that you're going to say it so much better than I would. So let me have you do that, okay? Introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and the difference you're making in the world today.
Okay, so let's see. My name is Dee Farrand. I have been I started volunteering as a social worker when I was 14. So I count that as part of my career, right? So
Absolutely,
I've been a social worker for over 30 years. I've primarily worked with children and families, especially with children in the foster system or in the child welfare system. But, you know, over the course of 30 years, I've done a lot, right?
Yeah.
And the business that I now have is a culmination of all the work I've done with people who are in crisis. So I've worked with rape victims as they respond to the hospital. I've worked with children that are recently removed because I removed them. I've worked with all kinds of people that are in a point of crisis and have had to have tools to help them manage their anxiety in the crisis.
And you
right?
bring the tools to them.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so what I've done now is I've developed a 8-session anxiety management program that goes over about 12 weeks. And it teaches people 10 different tools or modalities that you can bring to any kind of a anxiety provoking situation. Like you know, I want to fly and I'm planning ahead.
Yeah.
Or I just got rear-ended and I'm in the middle of a flashback.
Oh, this is so great because this is stuff that really touches people at that level of I'm in the moment and having a really big reaction kind of thing.
And it's really great because it works with anybody. I have a 10-year-old client whose anxiety was so bad that he would literally pass out.
Wow.
And
that's kind of a seizure, isn't it? Like somebody.
Well, they thought it was seizures, but it's not.
Oh, it's not. It's just anxiety.
No, it's just anxiety. And we had him, we had every possible test run, right? All of his actual medical well-being checked out. So we know for sure it wasn't seizures.
Okay.
But at the beginning of the new school year, he was having a crisis. Yeah. And his mom called me, and we were able to get me on speakerphone with mom and him. Mm-hmm. And using the techniques that he has learned, we were able to get him out of it. He went right back in the classroom, had a great day.
Wow, cool.
And
that's very cool.
Yeah.
So I'm fascinated by this kind of technology because I know that there are triggers, right? People are triggered, and it's almost always a past event that took place that triggers that person for whatever reason. It's just, and it can actually be devastating. I was with a woman one time that she had her a tire blow out on the freeway, right? And her response, her anxiety response was to curl up in a ball on the freeway, like in front of her car, in the most dangerous place that she could be.
Right.
Trying to get her over
just absolutely crippled.
She was crippled, and having some kind of doing what you do is a huge benefit to someone that deals with that.
Yep.
And that's a common thing for her. That was the thing. It's a very common thing for her. Now, luckily, she's got, good medication, and she, by medication, I'm calling it cannabis medication.
Sure.
But she's able to manage that with cannabis, and she's able to deal with some of the effects of the experiences that she had in her past. But she doesn't have those tools.
That's
and those
right.
tools are what's valuable.
And my opinion is that, medication has a place, absolutely, whether it be cannabis or not. I am not in any way against cannabis.
Great.
Even when I was a CPS worker, I'm like, if there's pot in your home, there's food in your home.
Right. Exactly. Oh, yeah. God, that's a great view. Absolutely. Because, for the obvious reasons.
And therapy and medication and medical model will only take you so far.
That's true.
And then you're still left with, I have this thing that I'm trying to manage in my life and don't have the tools. I can articulate it really well. I can talk about how it makes me feel or what it feels like to be inside of it, or the dread of always knowing that it might be coming. That's because that's part of anxiety. If you have anxiety attacks, part of the anxiety is literally waiting for the next anxiety attack.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So it feeds on itself. It's like a loop.
Yeah.
So if you don't learn tools on how to disrupt those things, then you're just always putting out fires. And there's no maintenance. There's no, like, what do they call that? Like pre-work going into it. Do you know what I mean? And that's, for me, that's what's important to empower people.
Let me ask you this. In the 10 steps in the training that you have, because some of this is really being self-aware.
Some of it is.
Being aware that, and I've heard it called the loop. I've heard it called a couple of different things, and I used to suffer from anxiety. But what it felt like was at some point you would start to have this spiral.
Exactly.
That's what it felt like. And it was like, and usually it was tagged by, and I became self-aware of this, that it was like opening a drawer and getting in the drawer and then shutting the drawer, and then I had no access to anything. Like I was stuck, and it was just going in this circle, this spiral down. So when I finally started to get self-aware about, oh God, I'm doing that, and I would and I've had this happen recently, but it was like, I'm doing that. And the experience of it is a little bit of shock and terror, but also I'm familiar with the shock and terror. It's just, it can be devastating. Like,
well, that's a really just brilliant way to explain it, right? It really is a spiral. And one of the techniques that I teach in my course is called thought mapping. It's directly out of addictions theory.
Okay.
So I've worked with addicts in my past, right? 30 years, worked with a lot of people.
Sure. Yeah.
So in addictions theory, you become, one of the things that you do in order to manage your addiction on an ongoing basis is identify your triggers.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So thought mapping is the same thing, because when you start getting into that spiral, there's a thought.
Yeah.
There's a thought that triggers it.
That's true.
Well, here's the thing. There's actually several of them. It's like a train, right?
Yeah.
And what we do, one of the things that we do is we do the thought mapping that takes you from the state that you and I are in right now to complete panic, and you're totally gone, and you don't have any capacity to pull yourself out of it at that point until it runs its course, right?
Yeah.
So we do a train, and we talk about all the thoughts that happen before you get to that bottom space. And there's usually one that you can hear the most loudly, right? There's all these little thoughts that happen, what if and how come and blah, blah, blah. But there's usually one thought. Like, so with the 10-year-old I was talking about earlier, his was, I just can't handle this.
Oh, wow.
I just can't handle this. And
that
for him,
familiar,
that is it.
Yeah.
Right? For him, that thought sends him down the rabbit hole. So when you can identify the thought and you can put in an intervention for that thought, you can start to take the train off the tracks. So that's just one of the really, really simple tools that we use, right? We do this, it's a visual, right?
Okay.
It's a worksheet.
Okay.
We do the train, we identify the thoughts. When we identify the thought that you can hear the most loudly, it doesn't matter if it makes sense to me. This is you, right?
Yeah, right.
So you hear the thought that you identify the most loudly during that episode. And then we kind of put in a branch, and we put in 3 different interventions for that thought. So one of them could be call a friend.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
One of them could be make yourself a cup of tea. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
The point is you identify, oh, there's that thought. This could get bad.
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
Mine is breathing.
Oh, see?
It's
Perfect.
Every now and then, my son makes fun of me though. My son makes fun of me, but I'll breathe deeply into my stomach, right, and my diaphragm. So and I'll put my hands in front of me because I'm just capturing my spirit. And then I'm at peace. Yeah. Like right now, just even that. That's a great interrupt. So so I'm actually involved in doing that. Yeah. Wow, cool.
So that's just one of the 10. That's the most basic one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the most basic one. Do a thought map, identify the loudest thought that you have, and then we put in 3 interventions for that thought.
Oh, that's great.
And then it's about building the muscle to use your interventions, right? Sometimes you're going to be effective and sometimes you're not, because we're all humans, right? And it's just about building the muscle to remember to do your interventions and remember the tools that you have. And the reason I present 10 is because, 3 or 4 are going to ring true for you.
That's true. Yeah.
You're not going to like all of them. They're not all going to work for you.
Yeah, and is it like so? I'm gathering that it's kind of like it's not all 10, or you have to master all 10, master a few, master
Exactly.
a couple. Find the ones that work for you.
Yeah, the way I describe it is Jenga.
Oh.
So if you go to my About Us page,
Oh, hold on, let me go up here. Yep.
I have a Jenga model on there.
Okay. I
See
love
it?
Yeah, that's
So,
cool.
really, this program is about making your life a giant Jenga game,
Oh.
right? So when you play Jenga, what is the purpose of the Jenga game?
To not knock that shit over.
Right, but it is, in fact, designed to knock over,
That's
isn't
true,
it? It's
yeah,
designed
at
to
some
fail,
point,
right?
yeah,
And the
yeah.
way I win is to set you up to knock it over, right?
Yes.
That's the goal of the game, is to knock the damn thing over.
Exactly.
Somebody's got to knock it over,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I relate that to building yourself a structure that will support you around your anxiety.
Oh, that's great.
And here's the thing, we're not static humans. What you and I develop today will not work next month. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just means you go back to your toolbox and you've got 10 tools now and you pick up a different one
That's awesome.
and you rebuild your structure
Yeah.
or your tower in the case of Jenga, right?
That's really great.
All the tools are just Jenga and we just play with them till we find something that works.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's great. So tell me some stories of some people that you've worked with. We, keep them anonymous,
Right.
etc. But some
So
of
I talked to you a little bit about the 10-year-old,
Yeah.
right? He is one of the cases that I'm really the most proud of.
Okay.
From where he was to where he is, he's not the same child,
Wow.
right? It's really, he was going to school half day because he couldn't handle the stress of school. He stopped competing in sports. Like I said, he was passing out. He was losing weight. He was suicidal. He's on the track team. He's in school all day long. He's getting all B's.
Wow.
I mean, he has just really, and some of his were more unique than adults because one of the things that we had to do for him was he's a chewer. He's tactical. He needs something to fuss with, right?
Okay, yeah.
We call it a fidget. He needs a fidget. He needs a fidget.
Yeah.
Well, one of his releases was chewing. And so he's one of those kids that you see with the whole front of his shirt is soaked, right? Because he chews on. So
Yeah.
we had to be a little bit more creative with him. We went online and we found there's some actual chewing toys that are designed
Chew
for
toys?
kids that do that.
That's cool.
Right? So we got him
Yeah.
a couple of those. So he's big into Xbox.
Yeah.
So when you work with people, you go with their strengths, right?
Absolutely.
Well, Xbox is a strength for him.
Yeah.
So we found him some meditation Xboxes, and we found him some biofeedback Xboxes, and right.
man,
So
that is so
you have
cool.
to go with what works for that person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have this 10 tool course. I promise you, Xbox and chew toys are not in it. Right.
Okay.
But that's what worked for him. So that's
Right.
what we did.
But that's awesome because that you're not hemmed in by what the normal program is. You're actually able to utilize anything that's available in life today.
Yep.
To make a difference for that person.
Yeah.
So it can be very, very personalized.
Yes. There's no cookie cutters in my.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that's
I did
that's
that.
super important.
The way case management social work is done at the state level is it's very cookie cutter, right?
Yeah.
If I come and I take your kid, you have to do these things, and here's your list, right?
Right.
So I don't operate that way, and I never have. So I would give them the cookie cutter list that I had to because of the state mandate, and then I would give them the unique factors that makes that their own, right? And so I do that to this day. Here's the 10, and then what else do we need to add? Because you're not the same. I'm not going to treat a 10-year-old with that level of anxiety the same way I would treat you.
Right. Right. And as an aside, I mean, just to throw it in there, you did work for the state.
I did.
Yeah, for many
For
years.
8 years.
Yeah. And so certifications are all required when you're doing that. So Dee is one of those people who she's not just somebody with a great idea that understands anxiety. She's actually somebody who's a professional and been involved in this industry for, like you said, 30 years.
Yep.
But 8 years professionally with the state of Arizona, and then 22 other years with I'm sure
Variety.
very varied.
Yeah. Private agencies, nonprofit agencies, for-profit agencies, just a large variety.
What's the name of your business?
Relief for Life.
Relief for Life, and this is the website.
Yep.
So we've already started to look at it, and let's go ahead and do a little deep dive in there.
And that
Here's your-
MNPS right there, that's a master's in nonprofit management.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And you are available right now
I
for
am.
anybody who would come in and say, "Look, I'm dealing with, or I've got someone that's dealing with, if you have a child
Yep.
or adult, it doesn't matter."
And under my programs, you highlight that these are all groups, right?
Okay, yeah, right.
However, some people's anxiety is such that they really can't manage being in a group. So I do work with individuals. I have several individuals I'm working with now.
Okay, great, great. That's good to know. And they can go to the website reliefforlifeaz.com, and they can register right here. You see that highlighted there. Or check out the programs, get the testimonials. You have a blog, where you talk about some of the stuff that you've done. I see videos and other things. But this is really comprehensive. And the free gift. What's the free gift?
And the talking to yourself one is so important because we all do that.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody talks to themselves, right? It's what your brain is designed to do, actually.
Right now, I just said, no, I don't.
See?
But I'm a smart ass.
And it's what your brain is designed to do. Your brain is designed to talk to itself.
Yeah.
Right? So that one is really...
Say more about that. Your brain is designed to talk to itself?
Yeah, because your brain has one job. One job in the world. And it's to have you survive.
Right.
Right? That's it.
Okay.
Everything else is superfluous. Your brain is designed to have you survive. Right?
Right.
So the woman you were talking about that had the tire blowout on the freeway, right?
Yeah.
There's I will bet you dollars to donuts that at some point in her history, she was in a horrific car accident.
Yeah, that's true.
So her brain decided the way for her to survive anything that happens to a car is to shut down.
Wow.
She had no choice in the matter.
Yeah.
Right? Her brain's telling her, this is a crisis. This is life-threatening. You need to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what her brain's designed to do. Her brain was working beautifully in that moment because it was protecting her.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the fact that you and I would have approached that differently just means that you and I had different experiences around cars.
Yeah.
My father was a mechanic. If my car breaks down on the freeway, I freaking fix it. Right?
That's
cool. Just what I do.
Yeah.
I always have tools in my car. So, but my brain, I've had different experiences, right? So my brain talks to me about different stuff.
Okay.
My brain talks to me about being safe in a parking lot. Right?
Yeah.
My brain talks to me about making sure that my son has everything he needs. My brain talks to me about money.
Yes.
Yeah? My brain talks to me about my weight.
Yeah.
Right? So my brain talks to me about other stuff.
Right.
Right? And I get triggered just like anybody else, right?
Yeah.
I don't own a bathing suit. I probably never will. I don't go there because of my weight, right? Because my brain talks to me about my weight and my body image, right? So that's one of my triggers. And hers was just the car accident or the flat tire.
Yeah.
So your brain talks to you all the time. And what your brain says and whether or not you believe what your brain says is where you get power. Right? Because your brain says stuff to you all the time. That was stupid. I shouldn't have said that. God, my nails look bad today or whatever, right? Right?
Yeah, it's ongoing inner dialogue.
It's constant. It's
that monkey
constant chatter.
mind.
Yes.
Yeah, it's constantly going.
And what gets people caught up is when your brain says whatever and you go, oh my gosh, that's true.
Yeah.
And then you start living your life like that random thing your brain just said was true.
Because like it came out of my brain.
Right.
But the brain is not, the brain is wired. It's so weird. I love the technology and the research and everything that's going into neurology. I mean, goodness. It's the stuff we've learned as of late. We are amazing creatures.
We are. And our brain is beautifully designed to have us survive.
Our brains can, what's the word I'm looking for? Our brains can actually compute or break down any situation faster than any set of computers on the planet.
Yep.
I mean, being able to judge distance is one big thing. And speed, the speed of a car, how you walk across the street, how fast you walk across the street based on the speed of a car that's coming at you are all computations that are happening moment by moment.
And
it's incredible.
Speaking to the malleability of the brain, right? I have a brother who is legally blind. He's got a glass eye in one eye and no lens in the other. He rides a motorcycle, so he judges speed and distance all the time. He has no depth perception because he only has one eye.
Wow.
But the malleability of his brain, because that happened when he was 3 or 4, his brain has compensated.
Yeah.
He's actually on the heart transplant team.
What?
He's a med-surg RN.
You're shitting me.
No. He's amazing.
Wow. But that's because...
And he's legally blind. Because his brain compensated.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And now, for him, there was two clear ways his life could have gone, right? And he's also, by the way, got a photographic memory and a genius level IQ. You can't play Trivial Pursuit with him because he read all the damn cards. It's very annoying. But
is he like a Mensa member too?
I don't know.
He should be.
But he had two choices at the moment where he was born with cataract. So he never had vision in one eye. His brain never computed vision in that eye, right?
Okay.
Never happened.
Right.
So his brain had two choices. At the point where he lost that eye and they gave him the glass eye, his brain had two distinct pathways, all right?
Okay.
Victim or not.
Huh.
Right? He could have become crushed under the weight of the loss of his eye and identified himself as blind and limited.
Well, and that's all a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, it's not true.
Right.
It's just a
absolutely not
conversation.
true. Look at him, right?
Yeah.
But so that could have happened, right? And I'm sure that his brain said those things to him at some point, right? The difference is he had the people around him that pulled him out of that conversation and said, no, you can do anything you want.
Huh.
Right? And then that set him on the other path. So there's what his brain was saying to him, at 4 years old about whatever, or I'm sure that the impact of that got visited repeatedly as he developed as a young person, right? So there's what his brain was saying to him, and then there's what he believed.
And that was a choice.
And that's the choice, and
Yeah.
that's where you have power.
That's the power.
Yeah. So your brain talks to you all the time. It's what are you going to choose to believe?
I think it. I'm just going to throw a statement out there. I think really what's happening in the brain is that there's this electrical pathways that are happening at all times, and they show up as thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have who we are. Like you can't slice us open and find, Michael.
Right.
Just where is he?
Right.
So there's that AI that exists within, the mainframe that's going on in our brains. But that mainframe is like free radical. It's just ongoing all the time. So much shit happening, computations and everything else going on. And it just is, and it shows up as language and thought and all that. And then we have, like I said,
feelings and moods and all of that.
Yeah, all of it. And, structures and whatnot. And what's interesting is that I think that once you get a little clearer or you become self-aware, that's something that I think is it just needs to be talked about. Like, what is self-awareness anyway? But when you're self-aware, you can actually take those thoughts and say, okay, I'm going to pick and choose now.
Exactly.
Because that really is the you that's...
Yeah, the observer.
That's the observer, the you, right? And you get the, right? And that stuff can be found out. I mean, if you want to read a book about that, it's The Power of Now. It's a great book. But this conversation really does lend itself to, there's like a mechanism that's happening, and then there's you.
Yep.
And being able to separate that out so that we actually have like power around what the mechanism does, so we're not enslaved by it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this program is all about.
That's
It's all
awesome.
about being able to separate yourself from what's happening, right? And then choose. Now, sometimes you're going to not be able to separate in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you're going to choose to freak out.
Shit. Stress.
Don't make it wrong. Freak out.
Yeah,
but,
freak out.
wallow in it. Like, literally, man, if you're going to freak out, freak out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
then get that energy out of your body and free yourself up, right?
cry your eyes out.
Because they
whatever you
even
need to do.
just did a really interesting study about anger, where the the level of energy it takes to resist being angry is actually greater than the energy it takes to just be angry and get through it. So it's the same thing with anxiety. The level of anxiety people have about managing their anxiety, right?
Yeah.
It's like I said before, it's this feedback loop. It just starts a spiral. And when you can get some freedom to be able to exercise some control over what you're going to believe or not believe about what your brain says, you're going to start to learn some tools to manage your physical environment, right? What are you putting in your body that's contributing to your anxiety? What should you be putting in your body that could help manage your anxiety, right?
Nutrition-wise,
There's
right?
teas, nutrition.
Yeah.
We go over essential oils. We do sensory stimulus, because some people, like I was talking about earlier with fidgets, there are sensory objects that will soothe you that you probably already use, but you're just not aware that you're using them.
Okay.
Right? Like for me, when I have a migraine, there's a particular quilt I put on my bed.
Oh.
But what I've come to realize, it's because it's heavy and the weight of it soothes me. Right? So that's about your limbic system.
Okay.
That's people that are having really significant anxiety upsets. If you can compress them in some way, it triggers your limbic system, which triggers you to calm down.
Oh.
That's why being hugged when you're upset feels so good.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a limbic system thing.
Yeah. Well, in the oxytocin gets dumped into your system.
Exactly.
Which I don't think I think as human beings, we don't have enough oxytocin running through our systems at all. That's the love hormone. That's the connector hormone. And big hugs
It's
are
because
great.
the stress hormone's always running.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in what is it? 3 seconds. You should, if you're going to hug, 3 seconds to activate that that dump. So if you hug for less than 3 seconds, you're missing out.
Right. And I've even got some clients where we've taken, the scarves that women wear and they wrap around their shoulders and stuff.
Yeah.
I have some clients where we've even taken the scarf, because these are people that live alone, right?
Yeah.
And you can take that scarf and tie it in a way that you're in control of how much you twist it. So you keep twisting it until it gets tight enough that you start to feel soothed. So you can do that for yourself.
Wow.
Right?
That's
for kids, we give them weighted vests.
Okay.
Because the weight, right?
Yeah.
But for adults, you're at home, you're upset, whatever, you grab your scarf and you just start twisting. And you wrap around your shoulders so it comes from your shoulder to your elbow, so it crosses the midsection of your body.
I wish I had one right now.
And
you could show us
it's
exactly
amazing.
what that's like. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it works. So it's just little tools like that, right, that you probably already using. Like I was already putting that quilt on my bed when I have a migraine without giving any consideration to why, right? I just knew it helped.
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, it's the weight that I like.
Wow.
Right, and the weight triggers the limbic system
That's
release.
very cool. So, quick question: just what does, or how much does nutrition play in dealing with anxiety? How much does exercise play in dealing with anxiety? I mean, do you recommend that people eat a certain way, or maybe change some things in their diet?
Well, I don't recommend that anybody eat a certain way. What we do, however, is we explore what they're eating.
Okay.
Right? And I have a certified nutritionist come into the course for this specific conversation.
Perfect.
Because I'm not that.
Yeah.
Right? I'm an expert in some areas, but this isn't one of them.
Okay.
So I have somebody come in for this section, and we talk about what you're putting in your body. So a lot of the artificial sweeteners interact with the brain and can actually make anxiety worse.
Yeah, that's
right?
true. Yeah.
My son, who doesn't have anxiety, but as a child did struggle with 3 different forms of ADHD, had red food dye. You give him cranberry juice, and he almost like really vibrates in his seat.
Wow.
So we had to take out everything with red food dye. You have no idea how much red food dye is in almost everything, right?
Yeah.
And it's a good thing that I was already a cook. I cooked my way through college because we just stopped buying anything prepared.
Yeah.
I just made everything.
Yeah.
Because it was way easier than having to find something without red food dye in it.
Yeah.
So there are different triggers for people. Some people it's going to be a dye. Some people it's going to be an artificial sweetener. Maybe it's gluten. You never know.
Yeah.
Right? But the way you do that is you start an elimination diet, and you just I'm going to stop eating sugar for a week and see how I feel.
Right.
And see if that helps. And we track it.
That's made a difference for me. I mean, once I gave up, I'm telling on myself a little bit, but once I gave up gluten, I no longer eat pasta. I don't eat any bread. I stay away from all forms of wheat because I've learned that wheat is probably one of the worst things that a person can eat. I mean, it's not fit for human consumption. It's great for the birds. Feed the birds all day long with that shit, but don't put it in your meal. And I found out that a lot of the problems that I was having with muscle spasms and headaches and neck pain and all that other stuff went away, like pretty much immediately. and I switched up my diet like that. So that's one of the things I think, is really important. I'm glad that you address it.
Well, and not only do
in
we
your
address
program.
that, but then
That's
we
awesome.
address what should you be eating. So did
Yeah.
you know that the simple vitamin K deficiency can mirror bipolar disorder?
I did know that. Yes, I do know that. Yes.
Right? So we talk about what you shouldn't be eating
Right.
for you, for your body. Not
Right.
like there's a global what people
Nuh-uh.
shouldn't be eating, but
That's
for
true.
you and your body
It's
and the way
individual.
you're right. So we talk about that, and then we talk about what you should get checked out and make sure you have the right amounts of in your body.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So we check the amino acids, we check all the vitamins, we check the hormones, all of it.
That's awesome.
Right? Because you're a whole being, and this isn't just about your thoughts. This is about your entire body.
Right.
And if there's something off in your amino acids or there's something off in your biochemistry, then no matter what tools I teach you, until that biochemistry is addressed, you're going to have a limited capacity to benefit from them.
Wow.
So it really is a very, very holistic approach.
I mean, I can see your program helping people that are dealing with not just, anxiety, but mental illness.
Oh, sure.
And if we can address a lot of the issues that show up as mental, like you had mentioned, vitamin K deficiency shows up as bipolar disorder. Well, that's starting to be noticed
Yes.
more in the research that's being done with all the meta research that we're able to put
Mm-hmm.
together. And what I really found interesting was that niacin
Mm-hmm.
is a big player in getting rid of, this catatonic feeling of depression,
Yes.
really bad depression. And niacin, you just think of niacin. God,
Right.
isn't
And
that-
vitamin
that's-
D.
Vitamin D is
You know,
another one.
It's so funny because we've been such a good culture about warning people about melanoma, right? We've created a culture with vitamin D deficiency. You know what I mean?
It's ridiculous.
It is. It's very fun. And, many of the foods we eat are no longer engineered in a way that they have the nutritional value that they used to have.
Yeah.
Right? I grew up on a farm.
Yeah, you get your stuff out of the ground.
We pull,
Yeah.
literally, we'd be like, Mom, I'm hungry. And she'd like, where the garden is.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't work like that anymore.
Nuh-uh.
That was 40 years ago.
Yeah. Well, and for 50 years or more, I'm thinking closer to 60 or 70 even, we've been told that, there's all these bad things in your food. And, like low, don't eat fat, don't eat anything with cholesterol in it. Your body, we need cholesterol. Our brains need cholesterol. And the science, quote unquote, science that got us to this point where we're feeding each other, we're feeding on SpaghettiOs, for instance. Fast food and all that. It's not even, it's fast shit. It's not really food.
Yeah, and neither is SpaghettiOs, by the way.
No, it's not. And it was one of my biggest,
Yeah.
that was one of my treat meals.
Right.
You know,
I feel really
can of
lucky
SpaghettiOs.
because John Gabriel, my son, was allergic to milk as an infant.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So we never had cereal in our house.
that's good.
He just didn't get it. I got up and I cooked for him every morning. So he was raised on a protein-rich breakfast,
Yes.
which feeds and now we're finding out, right, that the infants and toddlers and the developing brain, they've got to have the protein in the morning. They've got to if they're going to
Yeah.
function, right?
Animal saturated fats are good for your brain, and it turns out that they're starting to see. Research is starting to show that as we evolved, that was what we ate, and the fat is probably what caused the advance in brain structure and
Absolutely.
brain function, making us smarter over time.
Yeah, and even just something simple like, so I mentioned earlier I suffer from migraines, right?
Yeah.
I was in a 15-minute conversation with a brilliant naturopath in our community. Her name's Sarah Marshall. She's amazing.
She's coming on the
right?
podcast. I
Good.
can't wait. I just had
Well-
Nicole Fields.
Oh, good.
And she's her partner.
Yep.
And so Sarah's coming on. I can't wait.
And
It's gonna be fun.
Sarah noticed I was in pain one day and said, "Are you in pain?" And I was like, "Well, when am I not in pain?" And so we had
Right.
one 15-minute conversation. I was about to be put on a daily medication that they use for like lupus, people that are struggling with lupus and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
because we couldn't find anything that would stop my migraines. I was having daily migraines. It was taking me out, right?
Wow,
It
yeah.
was making my life very small.
Yeah.
One 15-minute conversation with Sarah Marshall, I changed the way I eat, and I eliminated a couple things from my diet. I have migraines about once a month, maybe,
Maybe.
Now.
That's a miracle.
in one 15-minute conversation.
See, that's a miracle.
So really what we're putting in our bodies, and not just what, but how, right? Like the 3 meals a day thing
Yeah.
doesn't work for everybody.
No.
One of the things Sarah said to me was, you need to treat your body like you're a diabetic. You need to be eating every 3 hours.
Yeah.
you know?
Wow.
And it made a huge difference.
Wow.
So just the little things, right? And that's about migraines. It's not necessarily about anxiety, but the same principle applies,
Absolutely.
right? Once you start learning what your body needs to function well,
Mm-hmm.
you can not have to worry. Like, worrying about when my next migraine was striking was causing me just as much as anxiety as worrying about when I'm going to have my next flashback.
Yeah.
Right? Because I do have PTSD.
Yeah.
I do deal with flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I don't deal with them very often anymore. And when I
Right.
do, I have the tools to manage it.
Yeah.
Right?
You're not just a hair club president.
Right.
You're a member.
I'm a member. So I've dealt with it myself.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's like worrying about when it's going to happen. When is it going to hit me? Right?
Yeah.
That's just as anxiety provoking as the actual state of anxiety.
Yeah. I have so much compassion for that. I
Yeah.
mean, really. I know people that suffer from migraines, and one of the things that
Send them to Sarah.
it's so, some people are just so goddamn stubborn. Sorry, but like in family members, and I'm like, look, if you don't change your diet, you can expect to have migraines the rest of your life.
Yep.
I'm happy to help. I know people.
Yep.
I know a guy. I know a girl.
Well, it's the same thing with this.
Yeah.
Like I've had three actual groups, and then there's all the individual clients I have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because in the groups you see the people that are taking it and using the tools,
Yeah.
and you see the people that are sitting there nodding,
Like,
and then come back the next week and they haven't implemented anything. Because one of the things we do in the group is we share about, okay, so this is what we learned last week. The request was you put it in your life and come back and report how it worked.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you've got the people that do that, and then you've got the people that are just going to sit there and nod.
You know, those are the people that I think are just batteries not included.
Well, those are the people that
You know what I mean?
I think they're scared, right? They're so
Yeah.
resigned, nothing else has worked. Why will this work?
Yeah.
And there's a payoff for them
Yeah.
for being how they are.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And some people aren't willing to give that up yet.
Yeah. Who knows why they don't do it? I mean, I could speculate, you know, and I love to speculate, you know, but the truth is maybe it just works for them to be that way
Exactly.
in life because they have a support structure of people, and they're afraid that, hey, if I get well, oh shit, you know,
Right.
mom and sister and cousin or they're not going to respond to me and be, oh, poor thing, are you
Or
okay?
there's so
how
much
do I
of their
feel?
identity is made up with,
Yeah.
I'm an anxiety sufferer.
Ah,
So much of
the
their
identity of it.
Yeah, the identity
that's
of
a
it,
whole
that
nother-
if something
yeah.
threatens your identity, then what? So I actually say to people in the first couple of sessions, and I repeat it, like, this is actually about using these tools. I am unwilling to be more evidence for how you've tried everything and it doesn't work.
That's a great way to say
So
it.
if you're going to be here, then you need to actually use the tools. And if you're not willing to use the tools, then you should just not be here. Because I'm not willing to be more evidence for you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Way to be straight and then kind.
Yeah.
Because you could be a complete jerk about it, but that's such a great way to say it.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's very kind. It's very loving. I love it. So, what about exercise? Does that play a part?
Yes. So one of the things that we do in my program is we do meditation and yoga, and we talk about the importance of exercise for your mental health, right?
Yeah.
So I've discovered in the course of my life that my body, I like my endorphins in the morning,
Me too.
right? Not everybody does,
Nope.
right? But I like my endorphin kick in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this little 30-minute thing I do every morning, right?
Awesome.
And it gets my heart up, it gets me sweating, and it makes me happy,
Okay.
right? But that's what works for me.
Right.
And then I have my own little meditation downtime thing that I do at night before I go to bed, right?
Yeah.
And that's what works for me. And so we talk about all of this in the program, and actually have a yogi come in, because again, I'm not a master at yogi, right? I do yoga. I probably do a lot of it wrong. So I have somebody come in.
That's funny because I do all of it wrong, but that's just because I'm not really flexible at this time.
Right.
I started up yoga about I want to say 8 months ago, and I do certain poses really poorly, you know, really badly.
See, and
because
again, that's why I don't want to be the example for
Right.
people at the front of the room. So I have somebody come in who knows how to do them.
that's
right?
awesome. So you have a team. And
I do.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And we talk about the importance of exercise and the importance of yoga as a practice, right? It's the importance of meditation as a practice.
Yeah.
And again, this is a 10 tool course.
Yeah.
So maybe you're somebody that doesn't like to meditate. Okay, fine, then don't meditate, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe you're somebody who has limited mobility and yoga is really not going to work for you.
Right.
Okay, then don't do that,
Yeah.
right? But we it's very, very inclusive. We cover it all. It's holistic.
I love it.
Yeah, and one of the unique things about my program is that, let's just say that you came and you were a person in my program.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have an identified support person.
Oh, so you get a buddy.
Yeah, and that support
that's cool.
person has 2 intensives if you're in the group, right?
Okay.
Has 2 intensives that they come to, 2 weekend intensives that they get taught the language I'm teaching you.
Ah, that's great.
And the importance of that is that when you get triggered, your capacity to remember the tools you've learned is minimized until you have exercised that muscle enough so that it becomes
Yeah.
automatic, right?
Right. Right.
So it's important to have somebody who you trust who can say to you, Michael, I see you're triggered right now. Where's your plan?
Oh, wow.
What steps should we be on?
Yeah.
Right?
That's really great.
And have the language to help you. That's like that mom I was talking about with the 10-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's her 10-year-old support person, right?
Right.
He was not in a space to be able to hear her. She
Mm.
was doing all the right things, but there's that natural resisting mom thing that happens between kids and mothers,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
So she got me on the phone. And all I did was she put me on speaker and I talked to him. And she was right there.
Yeah.
And we got him de-escalated enough that he could then hear mom, and I got off the phone,
Awesome.
right? But that's what it's about. It's about having that support person that can help you in those times of crisis.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of a unique thing in my program,
I love it.
that you need to have an
Yeah.
identified support person who's willing to do the intensives.
Missing pieces, I think, a lot of times in therapy,
Yeah.
where you don't actually have somebody that you can, on a daily basis, be
Mm-hmm.
in communication, conversation with, and making sure that, those the program, your program, is being implemented. Because, like you said, I don't want to be another, example of what doesn't work for you.
Well, and it's not even about whether or not it's implemented, right?
Mm-hmm.
This isn't somebody who's coming to like tattle or tell on you. It's
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
who we're building in as a support person for you.
Yeah, got it.
We're building the language and the tools. They're learning them all. They're learning thought mapping. Excuse me. They're learning thought mapping. They're learning yoga. They're learning EFT. They're learning all of the same stuff that you're learning,
Yeah.
so that they can empower you when
and
you're disempowered.
And how great to be able to use people from the program to allow them to give back in a lot of ways. I think that's probably going to train them better to deal with their own.
Well, and that's a long-term goal, is to have people that have taken the program and really excelled at it come back and be a mentor,
Oh, that's awesome.
especially for the kids.
Yeah, that's really important
Mm-hmm.
for sure. It's so weird, I mean, we're in this culture of, God, we've got technology, we've got, research has been going on and on and on forever, and and then we still deal with, these issues, and it's almost like as if it's kind of, if I guess it seems like it goes back, the faster we're going in life, right? The less we're able to be self-aware around things that have happened to us in the past that we can actually address and get I don't know, worked out, but maybe put back in the past so it's not fucking up our now.
Right.
you
Well,
know?
and we have a society that's very much individualistic.
Yeah.
I think it's changing. I think there's starting to be a conversation about community and connection, right?
Yeah.
But we have a country that's built on pull yourself up by your bootstraps and do it yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's great where it works. And then what you end up with, though, is you have a bunch of people thinking that's why our suicide rate is so high.
Yeah. Everybody's alone.
That's right. I have to do this alone. I have to manage it alone.
We get off of work, we go home, we, put the bat car in the bat cave, and we sit down in front of the monitor and
Right.
it tells us what to think.
And when was the last time you even said hi to your neighbors?
Jesus, I don't even know my neighbors.
See?
And I'm guilty, and I'm
We
one
have
of those people
such
that's
an
out
individual.
there,
We have such an individualistic country, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. It works where it works,
Right.
and what it leads to is such social isolation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a community in your program that can make a huge difference for people that don't have that community.
That's right.
And well, there's communities everywhere. I mean, go to meetme.com or whatever, or meetup.com
Yep.
or whatever, and you can find a community. It's just that simple.
Right.
Do you have a meetup?
I don't yet, only because I don't have a place to have the meetups happening.
Okay.
But I am working on that. There will be a meetup. It's going to be a monthly meetup.
Awesome.
And actually, in about 6 months, sometime towards the early summer of next year,
Okay.
we're going to be doing the first ever anxiety summit.
That's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome. Let me tell you. We're going to have
I'll be
practitioners.
there. Can I be there?
I would love for you to be there.
That'd be great.
We're going to have practitioners.
Okay.
We're going to have a poster session. We're going to have breakout sessions. I mean, it's going to be amazing, and my intention is to bring the resources for anxiety management together in one place, where the professionals can get training and the people managing anxiety can get information.
Yeah.
Right. So
Well, that's
that's coming
great.
next summer.
That's exciting.
It's going to be awesome.
That's
I can't even
exciting.
wait. I'm so excited. Look, I get goosebumps. I get so excited about it. You know.
I love what you're up to.
Thank you.
That's so great.
Yeah.
So, how do I get in touch with you? I'm somebody that's dealing with, I can go to your
Go to the
webpage.
website. Go to
Okay.
the Facebook.
Is there an email?
There's an email. It's d@reliefforlifeaz.com.
Okay.
You can email me.
There's a Facebook page. Let's take
There's
a
a
look at
Facebook page.
that. Okay.
You can reach me there as well.
All right. I'll pull this up real quick.
Yep.
And keep talking.
So yeah, there's all kinds of different ways to get hold of me. You can, on the website, you can just Google the website, and you can send me an email that way, or
There you
you
go.
can hit me up on Facebook right here. Send me an IM.
There it is.
Join the group.
I'm going to join the group.
Oh yeah,
This
please
is going
do.
to happen right now.
Yep.
Here we go. I just joined the group.
Awesome.
Are you going to like?
Should I approve you? I
You
don't
should
know.
approve me.
You're kind of
Is
a
it
sketchy
allowed?
dude.
I am a sketchy dude.
But yeah, there's so
I've been
many.
I've been known to do lots of sketchy stuff.
There's so many different ways to
Yeah.
to reach out and to. There's a video there.
Which one?
Recent. Oh, that's a photo, I guess.
Yeah.
There should be a video linked to this from. That was a health program that I went and did a community health.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and we had our launch on here. We had a big launch party.
Oh,
that
that's
was
right.
Awesome.
I remember that. That
Yep.
was awesome. Yeah.
Yep. And so yeah, it's definitely.
Oh, here's a video from. Is this it? Launch party?
Yep.
You want to watch it?
Sure.
How long is it?
I don't know. I think it's just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, it's 4 minutes. Listen to this. Big this up a little. I love it all.
Yeah, isn't it great?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
What a program. Man, golly.
And you saw me a couple times look directly at the camera.
Yeah.
That's because, see, as a social worker, I'm not always attuned to who's listening, right?
Yeah.
So my cameraman, I felt so bad. When I gave the age ranges of rape victims I've dealt with,
Yeah.
he got emotionally impacted by that and had to walk away.
Oh, you're kidding.
So that's why you saw me get distracted, like, what's going on over there with the camera,
Yeah.
Because just the thought of, a 6-year-old having suffered a brutal rape.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And that's actually one of the cases that will never leave me. I will always remember that child.
Yeah. On the
Yeah.
one hand, I mean, I'm left with, I don't want to say you're left with, I'm left with the fact that there are monsters among us. And when something like that happens, for the most part, there is no person to go to, or no structure, or no. I mean, who do you get helped from when something like that happens?
Well, luckily in that situation, or I don't know how I'm going to say it, but in that situation, the people that got contacted were the police because the attack was so bad.
Yeah.
She actually had to be flown in to Tucson Medical Center down in Tucson for reconstructive surgery.
Oh my God.
So
This poor girl.
in that situation, help was there.
In spades, I think, because you were there. I
Thanks.
mean, really mean that. I mean, that is, God, I don't even have language for it. I wish I could say, thank you for what you're doing.
Thanks.
I mean that.
Yeah.
I want to expand it. I want to see it go global. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so needed. So needed. So, in the midst of all this, I mean, these are great stories, and they're great. Like, we're starting to see, I think, we're starting to unfold it a little bit, and we're starting to see really what you're up to, and it's so much bigger than I thought. Like, I'm just impressed by you.
Thank you.
So, take a moment and breathe. Okay, good. So what is the goal going forward? What are you, like, where are we going to take this? DC?
So
is there going to be some lobbying put in place? I mean,
I don't know that that's really necessary as far as anxiety management.
Okay.
I think that what's needed is there needs to be a fundamental shift in labeling people, right? So if you just look at me, right? So I have ADHD, which is attention deficit disorder, right? I have a brain injury, so I have TBI, so ADHD, TBI, PTSD. I mean, I could list, right?
Yeah.
Those are all labels, and they don't mean anything.
Right.
And what happens is, because of the way, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, right? I want to be really clear. I'm not criticizing. This is the way it works right now because this is the way it works, right?
Right, yeah.
But what happens is I go to a doctor and I get a label, right? And then that label becomes part of my identity
Right.
instead of just something that I'm dealing with. And you hear people say that all the time. Oh, well, I'm bipolar, so I can't,
Yeah.
right? Or, oh, well, I'm this, so I can't. Or I hear people speak that about others. Oh, well, she's SMI, which is seriously mentally ill, right? She's SMI.
SMI is seriously mentally ill.
Right, so that's how you are. You're just away because you have this label called SMI. Well, PTSD falls into the SMI category. So technically, I could be SMI,
Yeah. Absolutely.
right? So there's all these labels that get attached to people. And I understand the necessity of it for diagnosis and treatment and billing. But what happens is we then take the label and make it mean that's who we are. And that's what needs to have a fundamental shift.
That's crazy.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the labeling, while necessary for definition and medical model billing, all that,
Yeah.
is detrimental when you make it part of your identity.
The identity piece of it is the problem.
That's what needs to shift.
Yeah, I
That's
can
right.
see the transformation happening in there.
So instead of saying, I'm a 47-year-old single woman who had a traumatic brain injury, and now I deal with the impact of that, right?
Right.
Or instead of saying, I'm a rape survivor, and I deal with the impact of that,
Right.
right? It becomes, No, I'm a rape survivor.
Yeah.
No, I have PTSD. I, the me that I am, has PTSD.
Right.
I, the me that I am, had a brain injury. No, my brain got bruised.
Yeah.
That's what happened, right?
It gets folded into our identity.
It does.
And it becomes very destructive.
It becomes very limiting.
Yeah, yeah.
It becomes very limiting
I mean,
because
how do you live life if you're, or you know, the other side of that, right? You know, I was raped as a child or whatever. That experience becomes folded into, can I trust men?
right. And one of the things that we talk about in my group is that if you use the correlation of your life as a book, right?
Yep.
And even if you make each year of your life a chapter,
Yeah.
right? I'm a rape survivor is like a paragraph on a page of 47 years worth of a book.
Right. Holy crap. Yeah.
It's like 5 sentences or something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So when you can make it just a page in your story
Oh, that's so good.
instead of defining your story,
Yeah. That's not the whole book.
it's not even the whole chapter.
Yeah.
It may not even be a whole page.
Right. Right.
Right? But we take those things, those labels, and
And
we make it mean that's who I am.
Oh, wow. God, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said it that way.
I just did an interview with the Brain Injury Alliance of Arizona where we were talking about this. Because at that health fair that I was at, that Relief for Life was at,
Yeah.
Brain Injury Alliance was also there.
Oh, wow.
And
cool.
so I went over and I was talking to her and I told her I have a traumatic brain injury. And we started talking about it.
Yeah.
And the label that gets put on people for TBI, right? Like, oh, you have a traumatic brain injury, so that means you're unstable and have a bad memory and maybe can't live alone, right? Like all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
That's what limits people, not what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
Not the condition that they're dealing with, the labels and the stuff that gets put on top of it.
Yeah, so here's the label, and this is what it means about that label,
Right.
and so here's how I have to deal with you when that's not what's going on. What's
Right.
going on is you're a human being trying to deal with, you know, or dealing with whatever that issue was, a
Right.
brain injury.
Dealing with the impact of a
whatever
brain injury.
Yeah, that's it. You're just
Yeah.
dealing with it. I have you live on Periscope right now. I think this
Okay.
is so brilliant what we're talking about, and so we're broadcasting live. We got a bunch of people that just jumped on.
Oh, great.
I'm loving Periscope right now.
Yeah.
I swear, I love the podcast, what we can do, because we're live in studio. My name is MikeG, and this is a picture of me with my headphones on, and I actually put on a shirt for you. I did this for you.
I appreciate that
Normally
so much.
I'm just wearing a T-shirt, and we're just talking shit about people, but it's kind of funny. So I'm going to give this back to you. So anyway, I wanted to have people be exposed to you in a live broadcast.
Great, thank
a
you.
little bit. And the topic that we're into right now is so compelling, right? Having people that have anxiety be able to have a program that works specifically for what they're dealing with in life on a daily basis.
Yep.
And I love the fact that you're here on the Edge podcast, because now you have a platform really to share either through social media and many other places, right? And I want to be that platform for you, like really.
That's great. Thank you.
So the name of I'm going to throw this up here.
Oh, you're not have the website up there anymore.
Let me go ahead and get the website. Here it is. Let me crush that, and then we'll go back over here. So that's the website right there.
And my name is Dee Farrand, and the program is Relief for Life, and the website is reliefforlifeaz.com.
That's so great.
And it's an awesome program.
Yeah, go and check it out. Thanks, Darla Weiss, for joining. Really, we appreciate you and for jumping in there. And throw up some hearts, yo. So this is Dee Farrand, and my name is MikeG from the Edge podcast with MikeG. But look at this. I mean, if you know anybody who's dealing with anxiety, if you know anybody, if you yourself are dealing with anxiety, get in contact with
And I
Dee.
can do Skype.
Yeah.
Just because this says Relief for Life AZ doesn't mean I don't believe in boxes.
Right.
Right? So I have 2 clients right now that I Skype, one overseas and one in New York.
Oh, that's
so
cool. That's great.
we're not limited. We have technology, and I believe in using technology to make life easier.
Absolutely.
So we're not limited to Arizona.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
To see the rest of the podcast, go to yt.edgepodcast.com. There's no there. yt.edgepodcast.com, and this will be up later on this month. So thank you. I'm gonna log off right now because we love you guys though. Come back when you can, and we'll see you next time. But that's just for the Periscope people. All right.
Thanks.
You bet. So now let's just continue on. I know I threw that in there just for fun because I thought it would be cool to do. live periscoping while we're in this
for sure.
podcast kind of
Yeah.
thing. We just keep it fluid,
Yeah.
flow with it. So we've touched a bunch of different parts of this topic,
Yeah.
and we've talked about a bunch of different things that I think have really opened my eyes to what you're about. Like, I know you, right,
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah.
And we hang out together, and we played Jenga, at
Giant Jenga.
Linger Longer Lounge. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was fun. And but I had no idea, girl. I had no idea, and I was
thanks.
like, wow, this is really impressive. Not just impressed by what you're up to. I'm thoroughly impressed by who you are. By the way, the people that I talk to every time I talk to, oh yeah, Dee, I'm gonna go call Dee. Yeah, she's great. You should talk to her.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
So in our community, you also have a lot of clout.
Thank you.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want people that don't have, I want people, I would love to be able to fold in somehow into the podcast some people that have been really helped. You know what I mean? To even have them come in and share, really their triumphs, what they were dealing with, and then how this happened. And I don't know how to do that, but other than to just invite you to the end.
Yeah, I'll ask a couple.
Sure.
Yeah,
See if they'd be willing to do that.
Exactly. There's a couple that I know that have had really good, really, really good experience. And one of my favorites is a good friend of mine from Tucson, actually.
Oh, cool.
Who was terrified to fly, and her husband was in an industry where he was gone a lot, and there was an opportunity for her to go with him and do stuff, right?
Cool. Yeah.
And she never did because she was terrified to fly. And she did the program. She actually only did the first 3 weeks of the program before she had this breakthrough, and she flew 3 times in a month.
Wow.
With no issues.
No issues.
And she was somebody who couldn't make left turns because of the anxiety, right? So she's
Wow.
would make 4 right turns to make a left. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And she can
She should be
drive
an
now
Uber
without
driver.
that.
That'd be messed up. You could rack up a bunch of cash.
So she had some really great breakthroughs. And then just also, I worked at one-on-one with a little autistic boy. And I worked with him in front of his mother and his grandmother because I didn't expect him to pick it up so quickly. And he was getting bullied at school and having a really hard time and coming home crying. And it was just going badly, right?
Yeah.
And I worked with him one time, 1 15-minute session with the EFT, the Emotional Freedom Technique.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
1 15-minute session with him in front of mom and grandma because I didn't think he'd get it the first time, right?
Yep.
He goes to school the next day or whatever it was. It was very shortly thereafter, just a few days, right? I think I saw him on Saturday and he went to school on Monday. And they called me from the car on the way home from school and he told me, I got sad today and I tapped my sad away and I had a good day.
Nice.
And now when his mother's upset, he goes to mom and Mom, come on, we should tap.
That's great.
It's awesome. It is so awesome.
So talk to me about this technology EFT.
Sure.
What is
so
it? How does it work?
EFT's been around for a while, since the 70s. It works off of the already known and accepted acupuncture points on the body.
Okay.
Right? So everybody knows, whether or not you believe in energy moving through your body or whatever, but everybody knows there's certain points on your body that you can introduce a stimulus in those points and you'll get relief, or maybe you'll excite something, right? The way EFT works is it accesses those acupuncture points and you tap. You literally use your fingers and you tap on them to introduce a stimulus that starts to break up the habitual neuronal patterns.
Okay.
So the best way to describe this is when let's just say that you are having an anxiety attack and you want to calm yourself down, right? Let's say you have a couple minutes in the car or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe you get rear-ended and it's happening right now.
Right.
So what you do is there's a script and there's a map. So
Okay.
you don't have to memorize anything, right?
Great.
And the reason I like Brad Yates's YouTube channel is because he's got over 600 videos.
Oh, Lord.
And they work just so I'm going to do this with you right now. So
Okay.
you do what I do, okay?
All right.
So we're gonna pretend that you're having anxiety status right now, okay?
Yeah.
And so what you do is you start with the edge of your hand. This is called the karate chop point,
it.
right?
Okay.
And you can either do it with both hands like this to make it like you're getting the double whammy, or you
Yeah.
can use one hand. When I'm driving, I use the steering wheel and I hit my steering wheel, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So you tap
I see what
that.
you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you would hit that and you would say something to the effect of, even though I'm having anxiety right now,
I'm having anxiety right now.
I deeply and completely
I deeply and completely
love and accept myself.
love and accept myself.
Even though
Even though
I'm having an anxiety issue right now,
I'm having an anxiety issue right now,
I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Exactly the way I am. Right now. Even though I am
I feel amazing.
Yeah. So you do that, and then you move on to your face. So there's points around the face, under the nose, under the chin, near the collarbone, under the arm, liver points. There's points all over your body.
Yeah, you got to show those.
Yeah. And what you do is you just move around, and you repeat these phrases, right?
Okay.
And there's lots of research right now. Like the Veterans Association is using this with vets for PTSD.
Oh, wow.
There is so much applicability for this simple tool. And so, it has a lot of components, right? One is it's just a distraction, right? When you're in the middle of anxiety and all you're doing is thinking about how anxious you are, this is a distraction.
Because it sounds a little woo-woo, and it sounds a little bit like, New Age and all that stuff.
It does. But there's hard, statistical, real scientific data that shows that this works. And it works incredibly well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're not into that kind of stuff and you feel like it's woo-woo, fucking get over yourself and just do it. I mean,
then don't look at the woo-woo stuff. Look at the stats, right? Like I said at the beginning, you can look at this either way. You can look at the woo-woo, I'm changing my vibration, or you can look at I'm disrupting neural patterns.
Ah, that's perfect. I love the way you just said that.
Right? So when you have a thought that leads you down a pathway, it's because you have a neural pattern for that. Your brain has developed connections that take you from this thought to this outcome, right? Or this thought to this mood, or whatever, right?
Sure, yeah.
When you use tapping, you are introducing a stimulus that breaks up the neural pathway.
It's like taking a record and scratching it a little bit, and then it doesn't play that way anymore.
Exactly.
And if that record is a neural pathway, and it's been taking you down that pathway to depression,
right,
anxiety, suicidal thoughts,
suicidal ideation, fear,
any of that,
whatever.
You
anger,
scratch that record up a little bit by using this tapping, the CFT, and you can actually work your way out of it.
Yep. And
wow, that's powerful.
It's amazing. And I got certified under Brad Yates.
Okay.
So
I've got a video posted for him too.
He's amazing.
Okay.
And if you don't like him, don't use him, right?
Yeah.
Find somebody else on YouTube. There's a million of them.
Oh yeah.
I like him because he has a good cadence, right? His pitch of his voice is good for me. Really, really high pitched voices don't work for me if I'm trying to induce a state of relaxation.
You like this, dude?
I like to do good.
I actually have a little switch on my mixer over here. It's called the Barry White.
So, and he uses humor.
Yeah.
Right? So I like all of that. Now there's some people that maybe don't like the humor, or maybe they would rather be listening to a female voice or whatever. In that case,
I want a female voice that's English.
Okay, I don't have one of those.
Shit.
I have Jessica Ortner though for a really great female voice.
Right.
She's amazing.
I might be able to help out with that.
Maybe.
A little bit.
Maybe.
Because I got his voice that I've been doing, and it's because I watch a lot of Russell Brand on the telly.
Oh, is it?
I love
Russell Brand. He's funny.
Right.
But yeah, so EFT is an amazingly powerful tool that you can learn to use in your everyday life to empower you.
I'm going to use it.
And so is biofeedback. And there's so much biofeedback games out there right now. You can get them on your Xbox or your PlayStation or whatever. The silly, I don't know anything about gaming.
That's interesting. And how that technology can actually make a difference.
Yes.
At that level where it's so easy to just sit on the couch and just pick up stimuli, right? But actually to have stimuli that does something for
that
your
empowers
body.
your life.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm in. I mean, and I love I don't have an Xbox.
Right.
I don't have any of those.
Well,
things,
you can actually also do it
consoles.
on the computer.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
There's
cool.
several different platforms that those games are available on. The one that I use mostly is the Deepak Chopra. He's got, I think it's 10 different little games and meditations and stuff that he has in his package.
DeepakChopra.com.
Yep. And it's amazing.
We'll have a link. We'll put a link up.
So there's so, like I said, it's a very holistic program. There's so many things that we include, We do sensory integration. We do meditation. We go over to the tea shop, Chakra 4.
Chakra 4.
Over on Camelback.
I know where that's at.
And
yes.
we have people
like
do
16th Street and Camelback, yeah.
And we do the whole aromatherapy and teas, and we do that there with them because, again, not an expert. That's what they do,
Yep,
right?
that place is so amazing.
So
and
it is.
They're
and
very knowledgeable.
And they're wonderful. I've
Yeah.
taken a group of 8 people in there and taken over their shop.
You got
before,
my number, right?
You know? Yeah.
you can text me and let me know next time you go.
Okay.
I love that. I love that place. Yeah,
So
it's great.
it's holistic. We do everything, right? Because, like I said, out of 10 or 12 tools that we go through, you're going to have 3 or 4 that work for you right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then 6 months from now, somebody gets married or somebody dies or you get a new job or whatever. You have a different type of anxiety happening. You might need a different tool.
And that's great. And,
Yeah.
you have access to that at
Yep.
all times. So that's so fantastic. Gosh, Dee, thank you.
Thanks.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So highlight for yourself what's next. Where are we going to go next? And
Well, like
by
I
that-
said, the
yeah,
Anxiety Summit,
right. That's
right.
coming up.
The monthly meetup.com group, I need a space to have that in.
Okay.
So that's, if anybody's listening that has a space in Central Phoenix that would let me use that would be great.
Boardroom or something like that might work.
Boardroom,
Okay.
conference room,
Conference
anything
room.
like that. Yep.
Okay. Cool.
And then it's just a matter of getting the word out,
Yeah.
right? We've got to let people know that this is available because so many people that struggle with anxiety on a regular basis just don't know where to turn.
I love it.
Yep.
I'm just so present right now to just the help that's available. I want to say it this way. I'm really present to the love that exists in your heart for people that have to deal with on a daily basis the crippling effect
Yeah.
of anxiety.
Yeah.
And then I also want to acknowledge your expertise in this area.
Oh, thanks.
I really appreciate that. I mean, it's like they're people that gather their passions together and then just fucking rock with it. Those are the kind of people that are on the edge.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's what this podcast really is all about, is illuminating you,
Great.
having you be known.
Thanks.
So here's what's next for me. We're going to throw all of this onto Facebook and everywhere else and share you with the world.
Great.
In a way that I think that hopefully we're going to start to see a lot of people take advantage of the program and start
That would
to
be
really
wonderful.
get involved.
And, one of the things that I want to say is, as far as what's next, is I would love to be able to get in front of doctors, psychologists, therapists that can be referral sources, that have those people that they know that are struggling and nothing they're doing is working. And not that they're doing anything wrong, right?
Yeah.
Like they're doing their therapy, they're doing their medication, they're whatever, but they haven't quite turned that corner yet, right?
Yeah.
Those are the clients I want to work with.
Yeah.
Those are the people that I want to see.
I have a therapist in mind.
Oh, good.
Shout out to Judith Bingyu. She's amazing. She's a fantastic therapist, and she's, oh my God. I'll connect you to.
Great.
That's my.
That'd be great.
So that's one of many. So do me a favor. In this moment, what I would love for you to do is just look in the camera and just speak to that person. Like really, what you would say to someone who's, dealing with it. And so I'll just let you run with that.
Okay, so what I would say is, in the first place, you're not alone. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of people dealing with this. And I know it feels like you're alone, and there are people out here ready and willing to support you. So you're not alone. And the second thing I would say is I know the courage that it takes to have faith in something. When you have done everything you have already done, and it's worked where it's worked and it hasn't worked where it hasn't worked, to take on one more thing and try it and risk getting your heart broken and being disappointed again, I really, really get the courage and the strength it takes to pick up the phone and try again. And my request is that you pick up the phone and try again, because I promise you, you will not be disappointed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is a fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So again, how do we get in touch with you?
Facebook. You can go to Relief for Life on Facebook. You can go to reliefforlifeaz.com for my website. You can email me at d@reliefforlife.com. Yeah, there's lots of ways.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Decoding visionaries and subcultures. The Edge Podcast with MikeG is brought to you by the following sponsors. Thank you for your support.
Cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort.
Cause I'm the type of nigga that's built to last. If you fuck with me, I put my foot in your ass.
I'm close to the